Back for another Spill the Tea Tuesday. Let's talk about burnout. This affects many people. It affected many people before the pandemic started, and it's just, of course, gotten worse. It presents and affects people in different ways. It can show up as chronic fatigue, not being able to fall asleep, not being able to stay asleep, waking up more tired in the morning than when you went to sleep. You can have chronic anger, chronic depression, not being engaged in life. I started having burnout within my first year after graduation. I worked in adult med-surg, and we would work 3 12s one week and then 4 12s the next week. And because I had my BSN, within 6 months of me graduating, I was called into work early before my night shift one day and was told I was going to be a charge nurse with no education, no training, no support. It was just, here's how you try to figure out your assignments for the other nurses. I mean, it was a mess. And so I struggled with depression, not wanting to go to work because work was always overwhelming. And I was, I numbed myself out by binge drinking every other weekend. It was a lot. And to feel like I had just spent all this time going to school, and then suddenly I was like, I can't do this anymore. A friend that was also a nurse suggested travel nursing. So that's what I did, just a couple months after my 1-year anniversary, as I quit and I started travel nursing. And that helped quite a bit with the burnout, because I wasn't attached to a floor. I wasn't involved in the drama. The manager was crappy. Like, it didn't have any effect on me because I was gone. And you only did 3 12s a week. And I was like, you can count out the amount of shifts you're going to do, and then you're gone. And so that helped a lot for me to deal with my burnout. But the last 13 years I've been at a pediatric clinic, and the burnout was rife in the whole department, not even just with the nurses, but we weren't supported, we weren't heard, we weren't all the weren'ts, we just weren't. And I had burnout probably for the last 10 years in working in a clinic nurse. And I thought clinic nursing would be easier because it's Monday through Friday, but only 8-hour shifts. So it's, not the 12s that I couldn't finish out. That was hard. So I was chronically fatigued. I would wake up more tired than when I went to sleep. I always had a low level of anger and irritation. I constantly brought work home with me and would perseverate and get mad about either something that happened at a meeting or something that a doctor or manager had said, or I would get mad at an anticipation of what they would say. And it was a constant. Like, it takes up a lot of rent in your head. It takes up a lot of emotional energy. And it was like, eventually I worked my way to the point where I would stop talking about work if I wasn't at work. Like, because if you're talking with other nurses, it just becomes a bitch fest. In the department I was in, there were many times where we would end up with a very toxic workplace because it was just so bad. We weren't supported, we weren't heard, and then you get the lateral violence of bitching at each other and like nitpicking at each other, and you're not supporting each other. It was bad. It would get really bad. And I would numb myself out on social media. That was my thing. Even though I had a lot of stress and anxiety, what I now recognize as anxiety, about not having enough time to do the things that I needed to do and not having enough time to sleep, I would get on social media and be scrolling, and an hour would go by, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm like, how do I have time for this but not all these other things that I really want to do? And so it's a matter of kind of working your way through, like, being able to stop yourself and be like, I'm not getting on social media right now, because then I'm going to be on it for 2 hours, and I'd rather go to bed and actually get some sleep. So I got really bad. It got even worse last year, even though I had put in place these things that helped me a lot in my burnout, so I could start working on other things, my escape plan to get out. 6 months before I left, my manager left, and so we had a temporary or interim manager that was higher up, and he didn't have any time to do actual management stuff. So myself and another nurse ended up doing the staffing and going to, like, I would go to department meetings and represent the nurses because I was the only, like, there was no manager doing it. And speaking up at all staff meetings about issues and bringing up issues and getting the flack for that, because there's always flack for that shit. And I didn't realize until after I quit how much all that, like, especially the staffing piece, like, interfered with my home time. And then the only people you get mad at are the people you live with and your family. And it was bad. But one way that I helped my burnout was by creating my home to be my cozy space. I got plants, I got lights, like the whole hygge movement was, I was like, light bulb, like, I want my house to be cozy. I want, when I come in, I want my shoulders to drop. I can take a deep breath and just feel relaxed. And I would encourage you to look at your home space and look at what you can do to make it not just your own, but make it relaxing to yourself, because that just helps you create space. And I feel like you have to have space in order to create change, if that makes any sense. So let me know how you have created your home to be cozy and to help create yourself, like, just space to relax. And if you haven't, then think of ways that you can, whether it's like a reading nook or just a chair that's really comfy that you can just sit in without your phone. And, just like a cozy blanket, those kind of things can add up to calming the nervous system and really creating space, and that space is where you'll find change. So